At the beginning, in the middle of a dense jungle, we see a group of warriors advancing forward. Leading them is Jibaro. These warriors appear to be conquerors who take over other territories. They decide to stop at a location in the jungle, where Jibaro ties his horse to a tree and goes to drink water from a fancy lake. As he reaches the lake, he notices a piece of gold in the water, which surprises him. After all, these soldiers have the habit of looting other regions. However, Jibaro is unaware that someone is watching him from within the water. As he tries to leave, he senses a presence behind him. But when he turns around, there is no one there. Once he leaves, a golden lady, known as Siren, emerges from the water and starts dancing mysteriously. Despite dancing, she screams, and upon hearing her voice, all the surrounding soldiers are irresistibly drawn toward her. Her voice has enchanted everyone, and as they rush toward her, they end up killing each other with their own swords. Those who survive drown in the water. In this way, all the soldiers perish because of the siren's scream, except for one, Jibaro. The siren screams at Jibaro, but her voice has no effect on him because he is deaf. This surprises the siren, as no one has ever been immune to her magical voice before. She realizes that perhaps her magic does not work on him. She retreats into the water. Jibaro, terrified after seeing all his comrades dead, tries to leave. But once again, the siren resurfaces and watches him intently. She is now intrigued by Jibaro, wondering why her magic had no effect on him. Jibaro, however, takes his horse and flees. After traveling some distance, he crashes into a tree and falls unconscious. After some time, he regains consciousness and continues his journey on foot. Exhausted, he stops by a riverbank to rest. That night, while he is sleeping, the siren appears again, curious about him. She dances around him, but since Jibaro is deaf, he does not sense her presence. Eventually, she lies down beside him. The next morning, when Jibaro wakes up, he is shocked to see the siren beside him. Her entire body is covered in gold and encrusted with precious jewels, making her the most valuable being in the world. As soon as the siren wakes up, she tries to flee. When Jibaro attempts to stop her, his hand gets cut because her body is coated with gold. At that moment, both realize that they belong to different worlds. Blood oozes from Jibaro's wound, symbolizing that their relationship can only bring pain and destruction. However, greed overtakes Jibaro. He becomes obsessed with the gold and jewels covering her body. Driven by his desire, he starts chasing her. The siren continues to dance while drifting along the river. Reaching the shore, Jibaro places his sword down. The siren, intrigued by him, looks into his eyes. He is the first person ever to survive her voice, and they move closer to each other. Soon, they share a kiss, but Jibaro starts bleeding from his lips, a sign that they are not meant to be together. Despite this, Jibaro remains fixated on obtaining her gold and jewels, while the siren is driven by her own desires. Their connection is fueled by greed rather than love. As they come closer, Jibaro suddenly attacks the siren, knocking her unconscious. He then begins stripping her body of all its valuable jewelry, even peeling off her golden skin. The siren, severely injured, suffers immense pain, but Jibaro is indifferent. He is solely focused on satisfying his greed. After taking every last piece of gold from her body, he throws the injured siren into the river and flees with his treasure. However, the gold is incredibly heavy, making it difficult for him to carry. Yet, his greed urges him to keep going, even though escaping the jungle is not easy. Meanwhile, the siren's body floats back to her sacred lake. As she bleeds profusely, her magical blood spreads throughout the river. Jibaro, exhausted, drinks water from the river, unknowingly consuming the siren's magical blood. The moment it enters his body, he regains his ability to hear. For the first time, he hears sounds, which overwhelms him. He behaves strangely, unable to comprehend what is happening. Eventually, he calms himself and prepares to leave. Meanwhile, the Siren, still alive, emerges from the water. When she sees her bare body, stripped of the jewels and gold she once took pride in, she is devastated. Her illusion shatters as she realizes Jibaro never loved her, he only wanted her wealth. At the same time, Jibaro stands by the riverbank. The Siren sees him and screams in agony. Now that he can hear, he is drawn toward her voice. He cannot stop himself, he twirls, dances, and moves toward her uncontrollably. Ultimately, he meets the same fate as his fallen comrades, dragged into the water by the Siren's deadly song. Under the water, countless faces appear, revealing that she has lured and killed many before him. However, now the Siren has nothing left. The beauty and jewelry she once took pride in are gone. Her sense of superiority is shattered. The story of Jibaro is a representation of the real world, where people connect with each other out of selfish desires rather than genuine relationships. Just like Jibaro approached the Siren for her gold and jewels, she was drawn to him to fulfill her lust. Both sought to use each other for their own gains, and in the end, they both suffered. Jibaro took the gold but lost his life to his greed, while the Siren, who had lured countless victims to their deaths, was left stripped and powerless. Even in today's world, people are just as ruthless as Jibaro. They inflict pain on others to satisfy their greed, without a second thought. The Siren also took a great risk to pursue her desires, knowing Jibaro was a soldier from a different world. In modern society, people are willing to take extreme risks for their lust and greed, even if it costs them their lives. Though Jibaro may seem like a simple animated story, it carries deep hidden meanings that reveal themselves upon multiple viewings. You can watch this episode on Netflix. We hope you enjoyed this story. Thanks for watching.